Lately, I had started noticing something different in my marriage with Oliver. It wasn't that we were unhappy, far from it. He was still the person I trusted most, my closest friend, my biggest supporter, and the one person who always stood beside me no matter what happened. But after spending 8 wonderful years together, I began feeling that something had changed between us. The excitement and spontaneity we once had slowly turned into a comfortable routine. The love was still there, stronger than ever, but the spark that made our early years feel so thrilling had become quieter. Our relationship had entered a peaceful stage, and while I appreciated the comfort we shared, a small part of me missed the adventure, the surprises, and the feeling of discovering something new about each other. One evening, after another ordinary date night that ended exactly like every other evening, I found myself sitting on the couch with my tablet in my hands. I wasn't searching because anything was wrong. I was simply hoping to find inspiration, something that could bring back some excitement and help us reconnect in a different way. As I scrolled through different articles, one topic suddenly caught my attention: couples exploring new sides of themselves through crossdressing. At first, I stopped and stared at the screen. The idea felt completely unexpected. It wasn't something Oliver and I had ever talked about before, and honestly, it was far outside anything I had imagined for our relationship. But as I continued reading, my curiosity grew. The stories I discovered weren't just about clothing or appearance. They were about trust, communication, and couples finding new ways to understand each other. Many people described how stepping outside their usual comfort zones helped them become closer and more open with one another. The idea of seeing Oliver differently was both exciting and intimidating. I wondered what it would be like to see the man I loved experience something completely new. Would he find it interesting? Would he laugh? Would he be uncomfortable? That night, while lying beside him in bed, my thoughts kept returning to what I had read. Then I remembered something small that I had noticed over the years. Sometimes, I had caught Oliver looking at my clothing drawer, especially my stockings and certain pieces of lingerie. I had always joked about it, thinking it was just one of his little quirks. But now, after reading those stories, I started wondering if there was more behind those moments. Could there be a side of Oliver that he had never shared with me? The next day during my lunch break, I found myself researching even more. I read about other couples' experiences and learned how important it was to approach the subject with kindness, patience, and respect. I didn't want Oliver to feel pressured. I didn't want him to think I expected anything from him. I simply wanted to open a conversation and see where his feelings were. By the time he arrived home from work, I had already decided I would bring it up casually. During dinner, I tried to act completely normal, even though my heart was beating faster than usual. We were sitting across from each other, enjoying a simple pasta meal, when I finally decided it was the right moment. "So, I read something interesting today," I said, trying to sound relaxed while twirling my fork through my food. Oliver looked up with a curious expression. "Oh really? What kind of interesting?" I smiled slightly. "Have you ever heard about couples experimenting with crossdressing?" For a moment, he looked surprised. Then a playful smile appeared on his face. "Crossdressing? You mean like wearing each other's clothes?" I nodded, keeping my tone light. "Something like that. I read that some couples try it because it helps them understand each other better and can make things feel exciting again." Oliver laughed softly and shook his head. "You always find the most unexpected things online." I laughed with him, but I noticed something behind his smile. There was a small spark of curiosity in his expression. It was subtle, but I saw it. I decided not to ignore it. "I'm not saying we have to do anything," I explained. "I just think it could be an interesting experience. We're always looking for ways to keep our relationship fun, right?" Oliver leaned back in his chair, still smiling. "I guess, but can you honestly imagine me wearing a dress?" The image immediately crossed my mind, and I couldn't help but smile. "Actually, yes. I think you might surprise yourself. You have a good shape, and I think you'd look better than you expect." He laughed louder this time. Okay. I'll think about it. But don't expect me to start walking around in heels tomorrow. We moved on to other conversations, but I couldn't stop thinking about that moment. For the first time, I felt like we had opened a door to a completely new part of our relationship. That night, as we got ready for bed, I noticed Oliver glance toward my clothes again. It was only a small moment, but it made me believe his curiosity might be stronger than he admitted. Over the next several days, I gently brought up the idea from time to time. I never pushed him, but I shared how interesting I thought it could be. I mentioned how fun it would be to help him choose an outfit, style his look, and create a completely different appearance for a night. Every time he laughed it off. But every time, I noticed that same curiosity in his eyes. The evening, everything changed. When Oliver finally arrived home that evening, I could immediately tell how exhausting his day had been. The moment he stepped through the door, I noticed the tired expression on his face, the loosened tie around his neck, and the way he carried the weight of a stressful day on his shoulders. "Hey, how was your day?" I asked warmly as I guided him toward the kitchen. "I'm glad to be home," he replied, taking off his jacket and relaxing his shoulders. "I could really use something to help me forget about work for a while." A playful smile crossed my face. "Good thing I might already have something planned to help you unwind." He looked at me with curiosity, but I only smiled and continued preparing dinner. I wanted everything to feel comfortable and natural. I didn't want him to feel nervous or pressured. This was supposed to be an experience we shared together. Something built on trust, laughter, and openness. After dinner, I prepared the room carefully. I lowered the lights, placed candles around the space, and turned on soft music that created a calm and welcoming atmosphere. As Oliver looked around, I could see the stress from his day slowly disappearing. "Madison," he said with a curious smile, "what exactly are you planning?" I walked toward him and took his hand. "Just a little experiment," I answered. "Trust me, I think you'll enjoy it." I gently guided him toward the bedroom, where I had already prepared everything. He sat in front of the mirror, looking slightly uncertain, but also interested in what would happen next. I started with the wig. Carefully, I placed it on his head and adjusted it until it looked natural. The soft chestnut curls framed his face in a completely different way, changing his appearance while still allowing his personality to shine through. When he looked into the mirror, his expression changed. "Wow," he said quietly. "I really do look different." I smiled. Different doesn't mean bad. Sometimes discovering a new side of yourself can be surprising. He studied his reflection for a moment longer. I could see that his nervousness was slowly being replaced by curiosity. Next, I introduced him to the outfit I had chosen. At first, he hesitated, unsure of what to expect. Everything felt unfamiliar, and I could tell he was stepping outside of his usual comfort zone. "It feels strange," he admitted. I smiled reassuringly. New experiences usually do at first. Just give yourself a chance to enjoy the moment. With patience and encouragement, he became more comfortable. The uncertainty that had been there in the beginning slowly faded, replaced by a growing confidence. When he finally saw the complete look in the mirror, he became quiet for a moment. I watched his reaction carefully. "You look amazing," I told him honestly. He smiled, still a little surprised. I never thought I would actually feel this comfortable. I wrapped my arms around him. "That's the whole point. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about exploring another side of yourself and having fun together." A small laugh escaped him. "You really thought this through, didn't you?" "Maybe a little," I admitted. As the evening continued, we decided to make the experience even more playful. I suggested choosing a name for this new character, something that would make the moment feel like a fun adventure. Oliver raised an eyebrow. "A name?" I nodded. "Why not? It's part of the experience." After thinking for a moment, I smiled. "How about Olivia?" He repeated the name slowly, testing how it sounded. "Olivia." Then he laughed. "Okay, I have to admit, that's actually kind of fun." From that point on, the entire evening became lighter. We laughed together, experimented with different expressions, and enjoyed seeing a side of each other that we had never explored before. What surprised me most was not the change in appearance. It was seeing Oliver's confidence grow. The person in front of me wasn't pretending to be someone completely different. He was simply allowing himself to experience something new without fear of judgment. The laughter, the conversations, and the shared trust between us created a feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time. It reminded me that relationships are not only built on the years you spend together, but also on the willingness to keep discovering new things about one another. As the night continued, we realized this experience had brought us closer in a way neither of us expected. It wasn't about a single outfit or a single evening. It was about opening a door to deeper communication and understanding. Later, as we relaxed together and reflected on everything that had happened, Oliver looked at me with a thoughtful smile. "I honestly didn't expect to enjoy this," he admitted. "But I'm glad I trusted you enough to try something new." I smiled and gently replied, "I'm glad you were willing to share this experience with me." He nodded. "I think I learned something tonight. Sometimes stepping outside your comfort zone can show you a side of yourself you never knew existed." Those words stayed with me, because that was exactly what I hoped for from the beginning. Not a change in who Oliver was, but a new way for us to connect, laugh, and understand each other. That evening became a memory we would always remember. The night we discovered that love grows stronger when two people are brave enough to explore life together. Thank you for joining us on another unforgettable journey through storytelling. Remember to follow along for more emotional adventures, surprising transformations, and inspiring moments. Until the next chapter, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the power of a great story.